Hi, this is Mahesh Ravi, and in this video, I'm going to talk about a very important workflow that every designer must know. We're going to talk about a print work in this example. So, as a designer, you should be knowing and you should be customizing your workflow with regards to tools as your output medium demands. For instance, if you are going to create a print format, a poster, it needs to have the quality and the technical precision that print demands, because people are going to look at it from a certain distance and needs to be very legible. It cannot have any blurred text on it. What we are going to talk about is how to actually use the best of both worlds, how to work with raster graphics to get the most out of raster tools, and then how to actually bring it to a vector tool to make it print ready. We don't have to, when you are working on print, you don't have to restrict yourself to a print-only design tool like Illustrator or InDesign. You can definitely use a raster tool like Photoshop to bring your creativity into life and then finish it with Illustrator or a print tool to make it a print ready. So we are going to talk about that today, and I will be showing you one example here of one of the design posters that I've done here. I have made two variations here. So we're going to take a look at one poster, how I actually did this effect and how we used Photoshop and Illustrator into this workflow. So let's get started. First thing that I wanted to do was to identify a picture to use. And I wanted to apply some effects into the picture as well. And Illustrator, so you know, that doesn't work well with imagery. So I had to use Photoshop for that. So let's start finding an image for this, right? So let's go to Unsplash. This is a free repository of images that I use most of the time for design projects to showcase it to my students. So I'm going to go here and we'll look for a close-up image. Okay, I think I'm going to go with this particular image, and I'm going to download it for free. And it comes in right here. So I'm going to drop it into my drop zone. So this is something that I wanted to say. If you are Mac users, this will be a really interesting tool. So you can temporarily hold your files or drop your files in here and keep it there, so that whenever you need it, you can take it right from there. So you don't have to go to your file explorer and then waste a lot of time there. It's a very, very handy tool for Mac users. Let's start prepping our document. I'm going to close all of this. Right now I don't need it right at the moment, and I don't need characters. I'm not going to work on any characters right now. I'll create a new file and I will go to print. I'll choose an A4 from the preset which is available right here. This is all good to go. We are working on RGB because we are going to work only on images right here. So click create. We have the document right now. I'm going to go ahead and place the image that we downloaded into this. So we can use the drop zone. So click on the drop zone, drag and drop it right here, and it comes there. Okay, we have this image. We need to zoom, scale it to fit it into our document size. Okay, I like this composition. Can take that in. Okay, so we have our basic image, which is the first layer is actually done. Let's go to window and bring up the layer window so we can see how we are working with the layers. Okay, we have this at the moment. I'm going to rasterize this layer and let's call it 4. We have this right now. What I want to do is that I want to add that particular strip of plastic on top of it. This is for aesthetic reasons, and also it will add a lot of, it will add a good placeholder to put in text content later. So let's bring in our pattern. So I just went to Google and looked up for some plastic textures, and I was able to find a couple of them. Yeah, let's choose something which this is good. So I'm going to take that. The image is not big enough for us, as we can see. So I'm going to scale this down a bit. What we can do is, I'm going to create a couple of duplicates here. So just hold my Alt key and I'm going to create some duplicates of this. Right. So it basically covers all these areas, but there is a little bit of looping happening here. So we can sort of get rid of that. So I'm going to right click all of this and rasterize the layers. So I can maybe select these and erase the top portion of this to blend it better. I'm going to reduce the opacity a little bit, and I'm going to erase a little bit of this so that blending thing is gone. We can do the same for this as well. Right, so I think that's good enough. We can now merge all these layers by pressing Ctrl E, and everything is merged. I don't need the strip to go this big, so I'm going to make a selection like this. Before that, we can reduce the opacity of this. So I want the strip to be on the eye like this. So we have made that selection, and I will go to Edit. We'll go to Select, Inverse, and Delete. So the strip from all the other places are gone, and we can bring back our opacity. This is what we have right now. I'm going to go to the blending mode of this, and I will play around with the blending mode. I want to change the blending mode, so I'll just bring maybe linear dots. Actually looks interesting. I can duplicate this to make it a little more intense, this particular thing. I don't need that is required at the moment. So it sort of works well. You can also try maybe screen. Okay, screen is also working. What I'm going to do is, I want to make the background of this particular image a little blurry. So wherever the panel is coming, the background of that needs to be a little blurry. So I'm going to do Control click on the thumbnail of the panel, and I'm going to select the image below this, go to Filter, Blur, and add a little bit of Gaussian blur in there. So we can see that whatever people are seeing through this is sort of blurred. Right, so that's not very clear right now. I'm going to add that blur right here. So this is how this looks right now. So there is a real strip on top of the image. We can now, as I said, if you want to increase the intensity of that strip, you can duplicate it, which actually works good here. So we have that. If you want to add a color tint to it, you can do the same thing by clicking on the thumbnail of it, create a new layer, fill it with a color, and change the layer to color right here. And you can reduce the opacity of it. So it adds a tint for that. I don't think we actually need a tint. You can press Ctrl U to change the hue and saturation of the tint. I don't think it is required for us. Yeah, this is without the tint, and this is with the tint. I think, yeah, with the tint it actually looks a little better. So we're going to keep the tint. So we have this many layers right now. We're not going to do so much work in here. We are going to take this to Illustrator now to do all the type related work. The problem or why we are actually doing that is that if you create the type in here, it's still based on pixels. So even though it's a vector element, it actually says that as a vector element, it's still made of pixels. So if you zoom in to the graphic, you can see that it's still the pixels are being shown. So this might be a problem when it is getting printed. So we might have to do a correction there. So I'm going to just delete this layer right now. Let's click delete it. I'm going to save this as a image, right? So let's click on save as a copy, and on your computer choose it and save it as a PNG image. So let's call it background. Save that here, and let's go over to Illustrator right now. We are going to work on Illustrator because, as I told you, the type tools, right, that we are going to use in Illustrator is print ready, and it's made out of vectors, it's made of points and curves and things like that, right? So we are going to go to Illustrator, click on A4, we're going to open an A4 document here, we're going to go to File, click Place, and we are going to select our background layer. Now, if by accident, if you are selecting this link, it means that the image is going to be left in its place, and then it is just going to be linked in your file. So if you are saving the file, the image will not be included here. So if there is a chance that by default this will be checked. So if you want the image to be included in your file, just uncheck this and click Place. So we have the document. Let's go to the intersection point, draw it so that the image is filling our area. We have the image right here. So let's now add our text components. So I'm going to go to text. I'll just write image editing workshop. So we have the basic text in here. We can scale it up a bit. Now, one other tool that I use is to quickly choose typefaces. It's called Typeface 3. The tool is called Typeface 3. So if I go to Typeface 2, it is going to show all my typefaces, and I can basically go to the prompt and enter what I want it to show. So if I type image editing workshop, it's going to give me a preview of how this particular title will look with all the typefaces on all the typefaces that I have currently on my system, and I can make a selection here. I like this Beirut regular typeface, not this one. I think BD Super Bold. So I'm going to use that. So let's select the typeface that I have, and let's type in the name. Beirut regular. This is what we BD Super Bold. Okay, so we have this typeface right here. I'm going to change the color of this to white. Now, the difference here, right? As I told you, these typefaces that you see is not made up of pixels. So if I zoom into this, beyond the document's size, I will still be able to see that there are pixelation happening in this. But as you can see, the image is getting pixelated, which is absolutely okay. The text needs to be clear, right? So we're going to go back. And we have this right now. Okay, so image editing workshop is the title that we have, and we can do some adjustments here. Let's reduce the spacing. Okay, so let's bring all the title, and as I told you, this is going to act like a perfect placeholder for a lot of text. So I'm going to just duplicate this, I'll drag this text right into this, and I'll write. I'll scale it really up. I want to write volume 1 in here, so let's align it to this area. Bring in the text again. So why we are doing it like this is that it's basically convenient to duplicate the text and work on it, and also it sort of lets you keep one typeface or work with one typeface for the entire typography in your poster, which keeps a little bit of consistency in there. Later you can change the typefaces as then when you need it, but when you're building your content into your typeface, it is always advised that you work with one typeface. So I'm going to change this to white. Let's change the color to something else for the time being. Okay, so we have a gray. Just to Landy, and I'm going to push it right here. Just bring it up here. this is how you work to get the best out of both technology, raster and vector, and you can ensure that your printing quality and the quality of the text in your print actually looks crystal clear and crisp to all the viewers. So I hope you learned something new from this tutorial, and bye.